drift away from the shore, past the breaking waves, into the silent, hidden realm of the deep. On the surface, the ocean appears as a vast, dark mirror, quiet, unmoving. But beneath that cold skin lies an ancient mystery that never sleeps. Here in the crushing weight of the unseen, life hums with a tireless, ghostly light. The bioluminescent jellyfish, delicate bells of glass, carrying a fire that has burned since the beginning of time. They are the lanterns of the abyss, working tirelessly in a world that has never known the sun. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, just breathe. Settle in. Let the day drift away, and allow your eyes to grow heavy. Let's begin. Bioluminescence in jellyfish is a chemical reaction involving a protein called DEQRN. This process occurs in the darkness of the deep sea. Your eyes may be closed now. In the same way, the jellyfish moves through a world without sun. It does not try to see. It simply reacts to the touch of the water. The protein meets calcium and produces a blue light. This light is cold to the touch. It does not burn. It does not flicker with haste. It is a slow hum of energy. Your breath moves in undoubt like the tide that carries them. They do not fight the current. They remain part of the water. It is a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is a quiet way to shine without effort. Jellyfish are composed of 95% water. They lack a brain and skeletal system. Their bodies are thin like the air you breathe. They are mostly liquid held together by a fragile skin. This skin is a soft wall between the animal and the ocean. You can feel the weight of your own limbs on the bed. The jellyfish feels no such weight. It floats in a state of constant suspension. It has no bones to break and no heart to race. It is a ghost made of salt and protein. The animal weaves through the depths without a destination. It exists in a state of pure presence. This reveals that strength is not always found in solid things, but in the ability to flow with the world. The green fluorescent protein allows certain jellyfish to transform blue light into green. This happens at the molecular level. Imagine a soft curtain falling over your thoughts. The protein absorbs one color and gently releases another. It is a quiet transformation. There is no noise in this change. The green glow acts as a signal in the vast stillness. It is a language spoken in silence. The molecules do not rush to complete their task. They wait for the right moment. Your body understands this rhythm of waiting. Every cell in you knows how to rest. You could say that light is just a different form of silence, waiting for the right time to appear and guide the way. The movement of a jellyfish is powered by a ring of muscles around the bell. These muscles contract to push water away. Each pulse is a slow heartbeat in the dark. It is a rhythm that has not changed for 500 million years. The rhythm is ancient. It is older than the mountains. You can feel your own pulse slowing down now. Your heart follows a similar ancient beat. The jellyfish does not hurry to reach the shore. It has no home to find. It is always up. The pulses are soft and deliberate. They create a path through the heavy water. In this sense, we see that constant motion can lead to a state of perfect and eternal rest. Jellyfish use a nerve net to sense their environment. They do not have a centralized nervous system. Information travels through them like a ripple in a pond. It is a thin web of feeling. The water around them is cold and heavy. They feel the shift of every current on their skin. You can feel the coolness of the sheets against your legs. The nerve net allows the animal to remain connected to everything. It does not think. It only feels. It is an invisible map of the ocean. The jellyfish remains still even when it is moving. Its awareness is spread out into the deep blue. This reveals that we are most at peace when we stop thinking and simply start to exist. The box jellyfish possesses 24 eyes located around its belly. These eyes are grouped into 4 clusters called Apollyon. Your eyes are closed and heavy now. The jellyfish does not use its eyes to recognize faces or read words. It only watches for the edge of a shadow or the shift of the tide. It filters the world into simple shapes. The deep water is a room of gray and blue. There is no clutter in its vision. It only sees what is necessary for its survival. Your mind can let go of the day in the same way. You can choose to see only the stillness of the room. It is a reminder that we find peace when we stop looking for complexity in the dark. Certain jellyfish species can revert their cells to an earlier stage of life. This process is known as transdifferentiation. The animal does not die but turns back into a polyp on the seafloor. It is a cycle that removes the burden of time. Your body knows how to heal while you sleep. Every breath you take is a small renewal of your spirit. The jellyfish sinks into the softs and to begin again. It does not fear the end because it understands the circle. It dissolves its old form and weaves a new one from the same essence. The ocean floor is a quiet place for this change. This reveals that life is not a straight line, but a slow and beautiful curve that always returns to rest. The contact of a jellyfish is delivered by microscopic capsules called nematocysts. These capsules act like tiny springs under tension. They are triggered by the physical touch of another body. You can feel the weight of your head sinking into the pillow. The pressure is a signal to let go. In the ocean, the jellyfish uses this mechanism to survive in the vast emptiness. It is a reflex born of ancient necessity. The movement is faster than sight, but it occurs in a silence that never breaks. Once the spring is released, the tension vanishes. The animal returns to its soft and drifting state. You could say that every release of tension is a step toward a deeper and more profound safety. Jellyfish fossils have been found in rocks that are over 500 million years old. They have survived 5 mass extinctions without changing their basic form. The world has seen mountains rise and fall while the jellyfish remain the same. They are the original ancestors of the sea. You are part of this long and unbroken chain of life. Your DNA carries the memory of the ancient salt water. The jellyfish drifts through time like it goes through a house. It does not build cities or leave scars on the earth. It only leaves a ripple in the water. It is a master of endurance through softness. In this sense, we see that the things that last are often the things that do not resist. The digestive system of a jellyfish is a simple blind, though with only one opening. This cavity serves both for the intake of nutrients and the removal of waste. It is a central void within the belly. You can feel the hollow rhythm of your chest as you breathe. The jellyfish is a vessel for the ocean to pass through. It does not store more than it needs. It processes the world slowly and stays light. The food dissolves into energy without any sound. The animal remains transparent and clear. It is a life lived without excess or heavy baggage. This reveals that true contentment comes from carrying only what is essential for the journey. Some jellyfish live in the adult zone, many thousands of meters below the surface. The pressure at these depths is immense and constant. The water is heavy like a thick blanket. You can feel the weight of sleep pressing down on your limbs. The jellyfish does not feel this pressure as a burden. It is built of the same water that surrounds it. There is no space inside for the ocean to crush. It is at one with its environment. The darkness there is absolute and ancient. It is a cradle of cold and quiet. The jellyfish moves through this pressure with a slow and steady grace. You could say that when we become one with our surroundings, the weight of the world disappears. Jellyfish often gather in large groups called blooms or swarms. These gatherings are not driven by social instinct, but by the movement of the tides. Thousands of glowing bells drift together in a single mass of light. You are not alone in your need for rest. Millions of others are closing their eyes at this very moment. The swarm moves as a single body through the dark. Each individual remains silent and still within the group. The light of one reflects off the skin of another. They weave a net of bioluminescence across the miles of salt water. It is a collective existence. This reveals that we are all part of a vast and quiet rhythm that connects every living thing. The umbrella of a jellyfish contains a layer of jelly called mesogale. This substance is mostly non-living and provides buoyancy. It acts as a structural cushion against the weight of the sea. Your body is resting on a similar cushion now. The bed supports your weight, so you do not have to. The mesogale is thick and translucent. It allows the jellyfish to maintain its shape without the need for a heavy skeleton. It is a soft architecture. The animal pulses through the water with the density of a cloud. It does not struggle to stay afloat. It simply exists in the middle of the water column. This reveals that we can find our own shape when we allow the world to hold us up. Many jellyfish species use gravity-sensing organs called statocysts to stay upright. These organs contain a small mineral grain that rolls with the movement of the bell. The grain touches different hair cells to tell the animal which way is down. You can feel the pull of gravity on your shoulders. It is a constant and honest force. The jellyfish follows this pull to find its place in the vertical world. It does not get lost in the vastness of the blue. It always knows where the center of the earth lies. The grain moves slowly within its tiny chamber. It is a quiet compass for a life without landmarks. You could say that balance is a silent conversation between the body and the earth. The arms of a jellyfish hang beneath the bell to transport food to the mouth. These structures are long and delicate like silk threads. They move with the grace of a slow wind. Your hands are still unresting at your sides. The arms do not reach out with aggression. They wait for the water to bring what is needed. They are soft filters for the drifting world. The movement is a gentle sway that never stops. The jellyfish is a patient harvester of the unseen. It does not worry about the next meal. It trusts the current to provide. In this sense, we see that a quiet and open posture is often the most effective way to receive. The lifespan of most jellyfish is measured in months rather than years. Their time in the sea is a brief and luminous flicker. They do not mourn the passing of the seasons. They inhabit the present moment with total focus. You can let go of the past hours of your day. They have drifted away like salt in the tide. The jellyfish grows and fades according to the temperature of the water. It is a seasonal ghost. Its existence is a short song played on the strings of the ocean. There is no haste in its brief life. It moves as if it has all the time in the universe. This reveals that the length of a life matters less than the stillness found within it. Some jellyfish harbor symbiotic algae within their tissues. These algae produce energy from sunlight and share it with their host. This relationship is a silent partnership of light and flesh. The jellyfish swims toward the surface to give the algae sun. You can feel the warmth of your own breath against the air. It is a shared exchange of life. The animal becomes a garden of glass. It does not need to hide when the sun is bright. It simply basks in the glow of another living thing. The energy flows through its veins without a sound. It is a quiet cooperation. You could say that we are never truly alone when we carry the light of others within us. The bells of certain jellyfish can grow to be over 2 meters wide. Despite this size, they remain as soft as a heartbeat. They are giants made of nothing but liquid and intention. You can feel the vast space of the room around you. The jellyfish occupies its space with a heavy and peaceful dignity. It does not collide with the world. It moves around obstacles with a liquid grace. Its size is a shield of silence. The large bell pulses with a deep and resonant rhythm. It moves the water in slow and powerful waves. The deep sea is a wide cradle for these drifting giants. This reveals that even the greatest presence can be maintained with a gentle and quiet spirit. Jellyfish larvae are called Bioluminescent and are covered in tiny hairs for swimming. These larvae drift until they find a solid surface to attach to. They begin their lives as travelers of the open water. Eventually they settle into the deep and become quiet polyps. Your mind is settling into the deep of sleep now. The wandering is over for the day. The planula finds a rock and becomes a part of the landscape. It waits in the dark for the right time to transform. It is a period of long and necessary rest. The ocean floor is a sanctuary for these small seeds of life. It is a reminder that every great journey begins and ends with a moment of absolute stillness. The pigment of a jellyfish is often a reflection of the depth at which it lies. Species in the sunlit zone are transparent to hide from hunters. Those in the midnight zone are often deep red or black. These colors appear invisible in the lightless water. Your own room is filled with the shadows of the night. The jellyfish accepts the color of its home without question. It does not try to be seen. It wears the darkness like a heavy cloak. This pigment is a chemical shield against the world. It allows the animal to vanish into the vast blue. The red sky absorbs the faint bioluminescence of others. It remains a secret in the cold. It is a reminder that there is a profound safety in becoming one with the shadows. The transition from a polyp to a medusa is called street robulation. During this phase, the stationary polyp buds off tiny segments that become free-swimming jellyfish. It is a silent multiplication of life. One stationary body becomes many drifting spirits. You can feel your thoughts becoming smaller and more distant. Each one drifts away like a newborn medusa. The polyp remains attached to the cold stone of the seabed. It does not feel lost when the segments depart. It has fulfilled its purpose in the long cycle. The water carries the new lives into the unknown. There is no sound during this birth. It is a mechanical and peaceful process. This reveals that letting go is the only way to begin a journey through the wide world. The salt concentration inside a jellyfish is nearly identical to the water outside. This prevents the animal from shrinking or swelling due to osmotic pressure. It exists in a state of perfect chemical equilibrium. Your body is finding its own equilibrium as you rest. The tension in your muscles is dissolving into the bed. The jellyfish does not fight the chemistry of the sea. It allows the salt to move through its thin membranes. There is no wall between the animal and the ocean. It is a part of the water it swims in. The balance is maintained without any conscious effort. It is a natural state of being. You could say that peace is found when there is no difference between your inner world and the outer one. Jellyfish do not possess a respiratory system like lungs or gills. Oxygen simply diffuses through their thin skin into their cells. The ocean breathes directly into their bodies. You are breathing the air of your room in a slow and steady rhythm. Each breath is an exchange with the world around you. The jellyfish does not struggle for air. It waits for the oxygen to arrive on the current. It is a passive and gentle intake of life. The water brings exactly what is needed for the animal to survive. There is no gasping or haste in this process. It is a quiet and invisible feeding. This reveals that the universe provides for our most basic needs if we simply remain open to its flow. The mucus of a jellyfish can trap microplastics and toxins from the surrounding water. This sticky substance acts as a filter for the environment. It cleans the water as the animal pulses through the dark. Your mind is filtering out the noise of the day as you drift towards sleep. The jellyfish produces a silk-white coating to protect its fragile skin. It is a soft shield that catches the debris of the world. The ocean becomes clearer behind the path of the swarm. The animal does not feel the weight of the particles it carries. It eventually sheds the mucus and begins again. It is a constant process of purification. In this sense, we see that we have the power to move through the world and leave it cleaner than we found it. The deep sea siphonophores are close relatives of the jellyfish and can grow longer than a blue whale. They are not single organisms but colonies of specialized individuals working as one. Each part has a specific task like swimming or feeding. You can feel the different parts of your body relaxing into the mattress. Your feet, your hands, and your chest are all finding their own rest. The colony moves through the deep as a single shimmering line. It is a chain of life held together by a shared purpose. There is no conflict between the parts. They communicate through a network of nerves and chemicals. It is a masterpiece of cooperation. This reveals that when we work in harmony, we can reach lengths and depths we could never achieve alone. The ultimate fate of a jellyfish is often to sink to the ocean floor and become marine snow. This organic matter provides vital nutrients to the creatures of the deep abyss. Nothing is wasted in the cycle of the sea. Your energy is returning to a state of quiet potential as you fall asleep. The jellyfish dissolves into the cold silt and becomes the ground for new life. It is a final act of generosity. The heady particles fall through the water column like snow dust. They settle in the stillness where no light reaches. The story of the jellyfish ends in the same place it began. It is a return to the great dark cradle. You could say that every end is just a quiet way of feeding the beginning of something new. The bell of a jellyfish is lined with a ring of sensory cells called lappets. These tiny flaps detect the presence of chemicals and vibrations in the water. They are the animal's sense of taste and touch combined. You can feel the air in the room brushing against your skin. It is a soft and invisible weight. The jellyfish uses its lappets to navigate the vast silence of the deep. It feels the approach of a current before the water even moves. It is a sensitivity born of long evolution in the dark. The animal does not need to see to know what is near. It simply listens with its whole body. This reveals that when we quiet our minds, we can feel the subtle movements of the world around us. The MES ovale of a jellyfish acts as an elastic skeleton that snaps the bell back to its original shape. This elasticity saves energy during swimming. The animal only has to work for half of its movement. The other half is provided by the natural spring of its own body. Your muscles are losing their tension and returning to their natural state of rest. You do not have to work to be still. The jellyfish pulses once and then lets the water do the rest. It is a conservation of effort. The bell expands and contracts in a slow and steady loop. It is a rhythm of work and surrender. In this sense, we see that true efficiency is found in knowing when to push and when to let go. The cells of a jellyfish can still activate even after the animal is no longer living. This is because the mechanism is purely mechanical and triggered by external pressure. The energy is stored in the cell like a coiled spring. You are letting go of the stored energy in your own limbs now. You are uncoiling from the day. The jellyfish remains a presence in the water long after its spirit has drifted away. It is a lingering memory in the salt. The ocean eventually washes the cells clean and returns them to the sand. It is a slow and thorough fading. The tension is finally replaced by the weight of the deep. This reveals that even our strongest defenses eventually dissolve into the peace of the great sea. Jellyfish have a unique way of growing that allows them to shrink when food is scarce. They can adjust their own tissues to stay alive during lean times. This process is called degrowth. It is a radical adaptation for survival in the empty blue. Your own needs are becoming very small as you prepare for sleep. You are pulling inward toward your center. The jellyfish becomes smaller and more transparent until the currents bring food again. It does not panic when it is hungry. It simply becomes less of itself to endure. It is a master of minimalism. When the cycle turns, it will grow large once more. You could say that we have the power to weather any season by returning to our simplest form. The trail of tentacles behind a lion's mane jellyfish can reach over 30 meters in length. These threads are thinner than a human hair but incredibly strong. They drift behind the bell like a long and glowing veil. You can imagine your own thoughts as thin threads drifting in the dark. They are long and quiet and weightless. The jellyfish does not get tangled in its own beauty. The tentacles move in harmony with the pulses of the bell. They are a net of light cast into the void. The animal carries this weight without any effort of the mind. It is a slow and majestic procession through the deep. This reveals that we can carry a great deal if we move with a steady and patient heart. Most jellyfish use a form of jet propulsion to move through the water column. They draw water into the bell and then expel it quickly to move forward. This creates a series of toroidal vortices or rings of moving water behind them. These rings help push the animal further with less effort. Your breath is creating its own soft rings in the quiet air of the room. The jellyfish moves in a series of gentle leaps. It is a dance of geometry and fluid. The vortices linger in the dark water long after the animal has passed. They are the only footprints the jellyfish leaves behind. This reveals that even the most fleeting movement leaves a ripple in the fabric of the universe. The chemistry of a jellyfish is a complex cocktail of proteins and porins. It is designed to act instantly on the nervous system of small prey. In the deep sea, there is no time for a slow chase. The interaction is over in a heartbeat. You are entering a world where the speed of the day no longer matters. The jellyfish uses its chemistry to find stillness in a world of movement. Once the prey is caught, the animal returns to its drifting state. The chemical reaction is a dark and ancient science. It is a tool for survival in a place where light is a rare gift. The chemistry is eventually neutralized by the salt in the coal. This reveals that even the sharpest sting is eventually softened by the vastness of time. The reproductive organs of a jellyfish are located in the lining of the gut cavity. These organs are often the only colorful parts of the transparent body. They appear as relief-shaped rings in the center of the bell. Your heartbeat is the center of your own body now. The jellyfish releases its eggs and sperm into the open water without a sound. There is no touch of ceremony. The ocean acts as a giant cradle for this meeting. It is a biological chance played out in the dark. Millions of potential lives drift away on the current. The animal does not look back to see what survives. It has given everything it has to the future. It is a reminder that we are part of a flow that is much larger than ourselves. Jellyfish do not have a respiratory surface or a circulatory system. They rely on the movement of the water to bring oxygen to every cell. The bell acts as a pump for both movement and life. You are feeling the air move into your lungs with the same regularity. It is a simple machine of breath. The jellyfish does not need a heart to push blood through its veins. The sea provides the circulation it lacks. It is a creature that is completely open to its environment. There is no internal hidden world. Everything is visible and clear. The oxygen moves slowly through the thin layers of tissue. This reveals that life does not always require complexity to be complete and resilient. The specialized cells of a jellyfish are among the fastest mechanisms in the animal kingdom. They fire in less than 700 nanoseconds. This speed is necessary because the jellyfish has no way to hold on to its prey. You are entering a state where time has no meaning at all. The day is behind you and the morning is far away. The jellyfish lies in this gap between seconds. Its body is slow, but its defense is instantaneous. This contrast allows it to survive in a world of fast hunting. Once the cell is spent, it is discarded and replaced. The animal does not dwell on the energy it has lost. It simply continues to drift. You could see that we find our true power in the moments when we act without overthinking. The crystal jellyfish contains a bioluminescent protein that glows green under certain conditions. This protein was the foundation for major discoveries in modern medicine. The jellyfish does not know it carries a map of life inside its body. It only knows the cold touch of the Pacific currents. Your own body carries deep wisdom that you do not need to understand to use. The green light is a beacon in the gray water. It is a cold fire that does not consume its host. The jellyfish pulses and the light follows the curve of its bell. It is a silent signal in the vastness. It is a reminder that there is a light within us that shines even when we are not aware. Jellyfish are capable of sensing the Earth's magnetic field to help them migrate. They have tiny crystals of magnetite within their bodies that act as a compass. They feel the pull of the poles even in the deepest trenches. You can feel the pull of sleep in your own mind. It is a steady and natural direction. The jellyfish follows the invisible lines of the planet. It does not need a map or a star to find its way. The Earth itself guides the animal through the trackless blue. It is a deep and ancient connection to the stone core of the world. The jellyfish is never truly lost. This reveals that we are always being guided by forces that are too quiet for the conscious mind to hear. The upside-down jellyfish spends its life resting on the seafloor with its tentacles facing upward. It pulses its bell to push water over its symbiotic algae. It looks like a pulsing flower in a garden of sand. Your body is resting on the surface of the bed in the same way. You are anchored and safe. The jellyfish does not swim through the open ocean like its cousins. It has found a place to stay and it remains there. It turns the sunlight into food through the plants in its skin. It is a creature of the sun and the silk. It is a master of patience and stillness. In this sense, we see that sometimes the most productive thing we can do is stay exactly where we are. The jellyfish is a creature of the interface between the living and the non-living. It is a pulse of energy in a world of water. When it dies, it leaves behind no bones and no scars. It simply dissolves back into the salt from which it came. You are dissolving into the silence of the night. There is nothing left for you to do today. The jellyfish has spent its life in a state of perfect surrender. It did not fight the tides or the seasons. It moved with them until the movement stopped. The ocean is its beginning and its end. The cycle is closed and the water is still once more. This reveals that there is a profound grace in returning to the source without any resistance. The moon jellyfish is named for the 4 horseshoe-shaped organs visible through its translucent bell. These are the animal's reproductive tissues. They are the only opaque parts of a creature made of light and water. Your own heart is a steady weight in the center of your chest. The jellyfish does not choose its path. It allows the moon and the tides to pull it across the surface of the sea. It drifts in vast numbers under the night sky. There is no sound in their gathering. They are like fallen stars guiding the soul. The water holds them in a cold and constant embrace. They do not struggle against the moon. They simply follow. It is a reminder that we are all moved by cycles much larger than our own lives. The barrel jellyfish can grow to the size of a human adult. It has no long stinging tentacles but uses 8 thick and furrowed arms to catch its food. These arms look like heavy roots hanging in the blue. You can feel the weight of your own legs as they sink into the mattress. The jellyfish moves with a slow and rhythmic power. It is a gentle giant of the shallow seas. Its body is firm and robust compared to its smaller cousins. It pulses with a deep and steady thrum. The water moves around it in heavy waves. It does not fear the shore or the deep. It exists in the space between. This reveals that there is a quiet dignity in moving through the world with a slow and steady heart. A jellyfish does not have a front or back. It is radially symmetrical. This means it perceives the world in every direction at once. It is a circle of pure experience. Your mind is beginning to expand into the quiet of the room. You are no longer focused on a single point. The jellyfish feels the pressure of the ocean from every side. It is balanced in the center of its own universe. There is no right or left in the dark water. There is only the center and the infinite. This symmetry allows it to react to the world without turning around. It is always facing the truth of its surroundings. You could say that we find our true center when we stop trying to look in only one direction. The sea wasp is a jellyfish with a chemistry so potent it can bring total stillness in minutes. This chemical is a complex chain of proteins designed for absolute stillness. It is a heavy silence contained in a small and fragile body. You are finding your own stillness now as the world fades away. The sea wasp does not hunt with anger. It simply carries a true love ultimate quiet. It drifts in the coastal waters like a ghost made of glass. Its chemistry is a reminder of the power held within the softest things. The ocean respects this quiet force. The animal moves without a sound through the mangroves. This reveals that the most profound shifts in life often happen in the quietest and most delicate moments. Jellyfish have been sent into space on the shuttle Columbia to study how they develop in zero gravity. They grew and pulsed in the darkness of orbit just as they do in the sea. They did not need the Earth to know how to be themselves. You are floating in the dark space of your own mind now. Gravity has lost its hold on your thoughts. The space-born jellyfish returned to Earth but could not figure out how to swim in gravity. They had forgotten the weight of the world. They were creatures of the void. Your body is also forgetting the weight of the day. You are becoming a traveler of the inner space. In this sense, we see that our nature is not tied to the ground, but to the pulse. The cone jelly is not a true jellyfish, but belongs to a separate group called Ctenopores. It moves using 8 rows of tiny silken hairs called cones. These hairs scatter light to create a shimmering rainbow effect in the dark. This is not bioluminescence, but the simple physics of light hitting a moving surface. Your thoughts are shimmering in a similar way as you drift towards sleep. They are colors moving through a quiet mind. The cone jelly does not try to be beautiful. It only tries to move. The rainbow is a byproduct of its steady work. It rolls through the deep with a mechanical and perfect grace. This reveals that beauty is often the natural result of simply moving through our lives with steady intention. The deepest part of the ocean is called the Challenger Deep. Even here, small and transparent jellyfish have been observed drifting in the cold. The pressure there is over 1,000 times that of the surface. It is a place of absolute and eternal rest. Your sleep is becoming as deep and as quiet as this trench. The jellyfish here do not move fast. They wait for centuries in the dark. They are the guardians at the bottom of the world. Their bodies are so simple that the pressure cannot break them. They are at home in the heavy silence. The water here has no movement and no scent. It is a perfect sanctuary. This reveals that there is a place of peace within us that no pressure can ever reach. The flower-hat jellyfish spends most of its time motionless on the ocean floor. It possesses brilliant neon tentacles that mimic the appearance of small sea anemones. This is a strategy of patient deception. Your body is now a stationary weight upon the bed. You do not need to move to find what you see. The jellyfish waits for its environment to come to it. It remains tucked away in the shadows of the reef. The neon ticks glow with a soft and rhythmic light. They sway in the current like silk ribbons. There is no tension in its waiting. It is a master of the slow and steady pause. This reveals that we do not always need to pursue our desires because the world has a way of drifting toward those who are still. Jellyfish lack a centralized heart and instead use their entire body to move fluids. The contraction of the belt pushes oxygen and nutrients through the thin tissues. It is a system of total integration. You can feel the slow rise and fall of your chest as a single movement. Your whole being is involved in the act of breathing. The jellyfish does not have separate parts that work in isolation. Every cell participates in the pulse. This creates a state of perfect internal harmony. There is no conflict between the mind and the flesh. The animal is a unified wave of life. The movement is as natural as the turning of the earth. You could say that we find our greatest strength when we stop acting as divided parts and begin to move as one. The Nomura jellyfish can weigh up to 200 kilograms and grow as wide as a large doll. These massive creatures drift in the currents of the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea. They are among the largest invertebrates in the world. You are sinking into a sleep that is vast and heavy. Your thoughts are becoming large and slow, like these drifting giants. The Nomura does not swim with haste or aggression. It moves through the water like a mountain of glass. Size is a testament to the hindrance of simple life. It feeds on the smallest organisms to sustain its great mass. It is a bridge between the microscopic and the monumental. This reveals that the smallest actions, repeated with consistency, can build a life of immense and quiet scale. The polyps of some jellyfish can remain dormant for years in a state of suspended animation. They wait for the water temperature and salinity to be exactly right before they begin to bud. This state is known as diapase. Your mind is entering its own state of necessary suspension. The world outside is waiting for the morning. The polyp does not feel the passage of time in the dark. It is a seed of life that knows how to endure the winter. It is not dead, but deeply asleep. Its metabolism slows to a near halt. It is a quiet persistence in the face of the cold. The study clings to as a permanent home. It is a reminder that there is a season for growth and a season for a long and profound rest. Certain jellyfish use their bioluminescence as a warning light to attract larger hunters. When approached, they flash a bright blue light to reveal the position of the intruder to something even bigger. It is a signal made of light. Your own dreams are a way of processing the events of your day. They are signals in the darkness of the mind. The jellyfish does not fight its enemy with force. It uses the environment to find its own safety. The flash is sudden and then it is gone. The silence returns to the water immediately after. The animal drifts away into the shadows while the light fades. This reveals that wisdom is often more effective than strength when we are faced with the pressures of the world. The tentacles of a jellyfish contain a nervous system that can function even when separated from the main body. This decentralized awareness allows the animal to be present in many places at once. It is a web of feeling that extends into the void. You are letting go of the need to control every thought. Your awareness is spreading out into the quiet room. The jellyfish feels the world through these long and sensitive fingers. It is a life of touch and vibration. There is no central ego to drive the movement. It is a collective intelligence of the skin. The threads move like smoke through the heady water. They are never lost. In this sense, we see that we are most connected to the world when we stop trying to hold it in our hands. The light produced by a jellyfish is the result of an efficient process that creates no heat. This is known as cold light. It is the most efficient form of energy in the known universe. Your own rest is a cooling process for your mind and body. The fires of the day are going out. The jellyfish glows without burning itself. It is a luminous existence that requires very little fuel. The blue and green hues are the only colors that travel far in the deep sea. They are the colors of the abyss. The light is a soft and steady companion in the eternal night. It does not flicker with anxiety. It is a constant and soothing presence. This reveals that the most enduring light is the one that comes from a place of cold and quiet peace. The Portuguese man-o'-war is not a single jellyfish, but a siphon knot-war made up for distinct types of polyps. These individuals are physically attached and cannot survive alone. They function as a single body with a shared life. Your own body is a collection of systems working in silent agreement to keep you whole. You are a community of cells resting as one. The man-o'-war uses a gas-filled bladder to float on the surface of the ocean. It is at the mercy of the wind and the waves. It does not steer its own course. It trusts the air to move it across the blue. The long tentacles trail below like anchors of silk. It is a life of total reliance on the elements. It is a reminder that we are supported by a vast network of hidden connections. The crown jellyfish lies in the deep ocean and has a high, domed bell with a deep groove. This groove allows the animal to contract its body with greater force and precision. It is an adaptation for the heavy pressure of the midnight zone. You can feel the weight of the air in the room as a comforting presence. The pressure is a signal that you are safe in your bed. The crown jellyfish moves with a regal and measured pace. It is a dark red color that appears black in the lightless water. It does not seek attention or status. It simply occupies its space in the deep with a quiet authority. The pulses are slow and certain. This reveals that true strength is found in a steady and focused rhythm that does not falter. The mucus of a jellyfish is used to transport food from the tentacles to the mouth. This substance is a natural lubricant that allows the animal to move without friction. It is a soft and flowing bridge between the world and the body. Your own thoughts are becoming smooth and fluid as you drift towards sleep. There is no resistance left in your mind. The jellyfish produces this silk continuously to keep its surfaces clean. It is a self-washing mechanism. Salt water flows over the mucus and carries away the dust of the sea. The animal remains clear and transparent despite the debris of the ocean. It is a master of maintaining its own purity. This reveals that we can remain clear by allowing the world to pass through us without sticking. Jellyfish have been observed using the surface of the water as a hunting ground. They float upside down and use the tension of the water as a net. They exploit the boundary between the air and the sea. You are resting on the boundary between waking and sleep. It is a thin and fragile line. The jellyfish remains perfectly still at this intersection. It does not break the surface but hangs just beneath it. The light of the sun is filtered through the waves into a dancing pattern on its bell. It is a creature of the threshold. It waits for the world to come to it. The movement of the surface is the only thing that moves the animal. In this sense, we see that there is great power in simply waiting at the edge of the unknown. The crystal jellyfish possesses a specialized ring of muscle that acts like a drawstring to close the opening of its bell. This allows it to trap water and push it out in a controlled stream. It is a simple and elegant piece of engineering. Your own body knows how to close itself off from the noise of the day. You are drawing the curtains of your mind. The jellyfish uses this muscle to move with a sudden and quiet grace. It is a movement of total containment. The water inside is used to propel the body forward. There is no waste in this process. The animal is a master of its own internal volume. It is a self-contained universe of glass. This reveals that we find our momentum when we learn to focus our internal energy toward a single point. The immortal jellyfish can transform its cells back into a polyp state multiple times throughout its life. This is not just a reset of the body, but a total reordering of its biological identity. It is the only known animal that can reverse its own aging process. You are allowing your mind to return to its simplest state as you sleep. You are resetting your own internal clock. The jellyfish sinks to the bottom and begins the process in the dark. It is a quiet and lonely transformation. It does not require a witness or a partner. It is a conversation between the cells and the sea. The old form dissolves and a new one is woven from the same threads. You could say that we are never truly finished, but are always in a state of becoming. The deep sea contains phantom jellyfish with arms that can reach 10 meters in length and look like heavy curtains of velvet. These animals do not have stinging cells, but use their massive arms to wrap around their prey. They are the shadows of the abyss. Your dreams are beginning to take on their own heavy and velvet shapes. They are large and slow and silent. The phantom jellyfish moves through the dark like a piece of drifting silk. It does not fight the water. It is a part of the darkness it inhabits. Its presence is felt more than it is seen. It is a master of the invisible. The water around it is cold and still. This reveals that the most significant things in life are often the ones that move quietly in the depths of our own awareness. The cauliflower jellyfish is a massive creature that inhabits the warm waters of the mid-ocean. It earns its name from the dense, textured clusters of oral arms that hang beneath its bell. These structures are designed to trap tiny organisms from the passing current. Your body is resting in the warmth of your room. You are safe and still. The jellyfish does not hunt with speed. It relies on the richness of the water to bring what is needed. It is a stationary feast in a moving world. The heavy arms sway with the rhythm of the deep tides. The animal is a masterpiece of patient design. It does not rush toward the horizon. It stays where the food is plentiful. It is a reminder that we do not always need to search for nourishment when we are already in the right place. Jellyfish lack a true stomach and instead use a specialized lining in their central cavity to absorb nutrients. This lining is in direct contact with the seawater. The process of digestion is slow and thorough. You can feel the slow, heavy rise of your stomach as you breathe. Your body is processing the energy of the day in the quiet. The jellyfish does not experience the sensation of hunger as we do. It is always absorbing and always giving back to the sea. There is no urgency in its metabolism. It is a steady flame that burns low and long. The nutrients move through the layers of jelly without a sound. This reveals that life is sustained by a quiet and constant exchange with the world around us. The cone jelly uses bioluminescence to produce flashes of light when it is disturbed by physical contact. This light is created by the oxidation of a protein called luciferyl sulfate. It is a chemical defense that lights up the dark for a brief moment. Your thoughts are flashing and fading as you drift towards sleep. The light is cold and silent. It does not carry heat or noise. The cone jelly remains transparent until the moment of the flash. It is a hidden beauty. The water around it is a vast and empty room. The light reveals the shape of the animal and then disappears back into the black. It is a fleeting signature in the void. You could say that we only truly reveal ourselves in the moments when we are touched by the world. Certain species of jellyfish are known to migrate vertically in the water column every single day. They rise to the surface at night to feed and sink to the dark depths during the day to avoid hunters. This is the largest mass migration on the planet. You are migrating into the deep territory of sleep now. You are leaving the surface of the world behind. The jellyfish moves with a slow and synchronized pulse. Millions of bodies move together in a silent vertical dance. They follow the rhythm of the sun and the moon. They do not get tired of the journey. It is their natural state of being. This reveals that we are all governed by a biological clock that tells us when it is time to rise and when it is time to sink into the dark. The nerves of a jellyfish are among the largest in the animal kingdom. This allows signals to travel through their soft bodies without the need for a complex brain. The signal for the bell to contract starts at the edge and moves inward. You can feel the signal of sleep moving from your toes to your head. It is a wave of relaxation. The jellyfish does not think about its next pulse. The body knows what to do on its own. It is an instinctive harmony. The nerves are like silver wires buried in the clear jelly. They carry the wisdom of 500 million years. There is no doubt in the movement. It is a perfect reflex. In this sense, we see that our bodies often know the way even when our minds are quiet and still. Jellyfish have a high capacity for regeneration and can regrow lost tentacles or damaged sections of their bell. This healing happens without the formation of scar tissue. The animal returns to its original, perfect state. Your mind is regenerating itself in the silence of this moment. You are shedding the wear of the day. The jellyfish does not carry the memory of its injuries. It moves forward as if it were always home. The new tissue is as clear and strong as the old. It is a constant renewal of the self. The salt water acts as a clean environment for this growth. It is a quiet, invisible repair. This reveals that we have a natural ability to heal and return to our center when we are given the space to rest. The final stage of a jellyfish's life is often a slow descent into the deep-sea trenches where the water is near freezing. The animal's pulse slows until it becomes a part of the steady pressure of the abyss. There is no struggle in this final sinking. You are reaching the deepest part of your own rest now. The water is cold and still and perfect. The jellyfish becomes a shadow in a world of shadows. It has completed its journey through the light and the currents. It is now a part of the eternal silence of the seafloor. The story of the pulse has reached its natural conclusion. It is a state of absolute and total peace. This reveals that the end of any journey is simply a return to the great and quiet vastness that holds us all. The blue cannonball jellyfish is a dense and muscular inhabitant of the coastal currents. It has a round bell that is as firm as a piece of fruit. It does not possess the long trailing tentacles of its cousins. Instead, it uses a set of short fleshy arms to filter the salt water. Your own body feels firm and supported by the mattress. You are held by the gravity of the earth. The cannonball jellyfish swims with a vigorous and steady rhythm. It is a creature of momentum and direction. It moves through the schools of fish like a slow stone. It does not get distracted by the movement around it. It stays on its course until the tide changes. This reveals that there is a deep peace found in moving through life with a clear and singular purpose. The jellyfish has no blood and no respiratory pigment to carry oxygen. The gas simply moves through the thin layers of cells by the laws of physics. This is a life maintained by the simple movement of molecules. You can feel the oxygen entering your own blood with every slow breath. It is a quiet and automatic gift from the air. The jellyfish is so thin that every part of it is in contact with the sea. There is no internal darkness that the ocean cannot reach. It is a life of total transparency. The animal does not need a heart to pump life to its edges. The world does the work for it. In this sense, we see that we are most alive when we allow ourselves to be permeated by our surroundings. Jellyfish can sense the vibration of a passing ship from many miles away. These vibrations travel faster through the water than through the air. The animal feels the hum of the world in its very core. You can feel the quiet hum of the room around you. It is the sound of a house at rest. The jellyfish does not fear the noise. It simply registers the change in the pressure of the sea. It is a witness to the movement of the heavy water. It remains calm in the face of the massive and the mechanical. Its own pulse is much slower and more ancient than any engine. It is a master of remaining centered in a world of constant motion. This reveals that our inner peace does not depend on the silence of the outside world. The tentacles of a jellyfish are lined with thousands of microscopic sensors that detect the chemical signature of prey. These sensors are more delicate than any human sense of taste. The animal is a drifting tongue in a world of salt. You are letting go of the need to taste or touch the world for now. You are withdrawing into the center of your own mind. The jellyfish waits for the chemical signal to trigger its response. It is a patient, unchemical existence. It does not hunt with its eyes. It hunts with its sensitivity to the invisible. The water carries the stories of everything that has passed through it. The jellyfish reads these stories in the dark. This reveals that we can know a great deal about the world by simply remaining still and receptive. The crown jellyfish uses a series of bioluminescent flashes to startle its hunters in the deep. This display is known as a sacrificial tag because it lights up the attacker for other hunters to see. It is a brilliant uncold flash in the midnight zone. Your mind is shedding the last flashes of the day's activity. The images are becoming dim and distant. The jellyfish uses its light as a shield of distraction. Once the flash is over, the animal sinks into the deeper blackness. It is a master of the sudden exit. It does not stay to fight. It uses its energy to return to the safety of the void. In this sense, we see that our greatest protection is often our ability to disappear into the quiet of our own being. Jellyfish are among the few creatures that can thrive in ocean quiet zones where oxygen levels are too low for fish. They have a very low metabolic demand and can survive on the margins of life. They are the pioneers of the empty spaces. You are finding comfort in the empty spaces of your own mind. There is no need for clutter or noise here. The jellyfish pulses slowly in the low oxygen water. It does not panic when the environment becomes difficult. It simply slows down its rhythm to match the world, and is a creature of extreme resilience through extreme simplicity. It finds a way to exist where others find only an end. This reveals that we can survive any hardship by returning to the most basic and quiet parts of ourselves. The life of a jellyfish is a continuous cycle of expansion and contraction. This is the fundamental movement of the universe. It is the same rhythm as the stars and the seasons. You can feel this rhythm in the rise and fall of your own chest. You are pulsing with the rest of the living world. The jellyfish does not try to hold its breath or stay expanded. It understands that the contraction is what allows the next movement to happen. It is a life of perfect and eternal flow. The water accepts the pulse and carries it forward. There is no beginning and no end to this movement. It is a loop of grace. You could say that we find our true home when we stop resisting the natural ebb and flow of our own lives. The mole stinger is a jellyfish that glows bright violet when it is brushed by a passing current. It is unique because its entire body, including the bell and the tentacles, is covered in specialized cells. It is a creature of total defense. You can feel the boundaries of your own body as you rest against the sheets. You are protected in this room. The mole stinger drifts in the open Mediterranean and Atlantic waters. It does not hide in the shadows of the reef. It is a bold and luminous presence in the surface waves. Its color is a warning and a beauty. The violet light pulses with a cold and steady frequency. This reveals that we can move through the open world with confidence when we know we are protected by our own nature. The gastrovascular cavity of a jellyfish is a multi-purpose organ that acts as both a stomach and a circulatory system. It branches out into a series of canals that carry nutrients to the very edges of the bowel. It is a simple and efficient map of life. Your own blood is moving in a slow and quiet circuit through your limbs. The jellyfish does not need a complex heart to push its energy forward. The movement of the bowel is enough to keep the fluids in motion. It is a life of integrated purpose. Every pulse helps the animal to eat, to breathe, and to move. There is no wasted effort in this design. You could say that we are most at peace when every part of our being is working toward a single, quiet goal. Jellyfish have a unique way of sensing the sun through light-sensitive spots called ocelli. These organs do not see images but can detect the direction and intensity of light. They use the sun as a guide to stay in the productive upper layers of the sea. Your own mind is sensitive to the fading light of the day. You are following the natural code of the darkness. The jellyfish moves toward the glow of the surface during the dawn. It is a mechanical attraction to the warmth. It does not question the source of the light. It simply follows the path of the energy. This connection to the sun is a thin and golden thread. It reveals that even the simplest life is tied to the movement of the stars. The chemistry of the Bioluminescent jellyfish is contained in a body no larger than a human fingernail. This small creature produces a chemical that causes a profound sense of heavy weight in its subjects. It is a master of the invisible stripe. You are letting go of any lingering worries or fears from your day. They are small and distant now. The Bioluminescent is nearly transparent and moves with a rapid darting motion. It is a tiny ghost in the warm coastal waters. It does not seek to cause harm, but it carries a heavy burden of power. The ocean is a place of many hidden truths. In this sense, we see that the most significant impacts can come from the smallest and most quiet sources in our lives. The bell of a jellyfish is made of 2 layers of epithelium with the thick mesoglace enriched in between. This structure is highly resistant to tearing and can withstand the pressure of the deep sea. It is a resilient and flexible shield. You can feel the softness and the strength of your own skin. It is your barrier against the world. The jellyfish can be folded by the waves and then returned to its perfect shape. It does not break under the weight of the water. It is a master of structural integrity through softness. The jelly is a reservoir of moisture and energy. It is a silent protector of the animal's inner life. This reveals that we can withstand any pressure by remaining flexible and soft in our hearts. Some jellyfish form a symbiotic relationship with small fish that live among their hanging tentacles. The fish are immune to the chemistry and find safety from larger hunters within the forest of silk. It is a shared sanctuary in the open sea. You are finding your own sanctuary in the quiet of this room. The jellyfish provides the shield and the fish provide a cleaning service for the host. It is a silent agreement of mutual benefit. They move through the blue as a single unit of life. There is no fear between the 2 different species. They have found a way to exist in harmony. You could say that we are never truly alone when we find a way to offer safety to others. The final descent of a jellyfish into the abyss is a process that can take many weeks. As the animal sinks, its tissues are slowly consumed by deep-sea bacteria and small scavengers. It is a slow and thorough fading into the earth. Your own consciousness is fading into the deep of sleep. The journey is nearly complete. The jellyfish does not resist the breakdown of its form. It returns its minerals and its salt to the great reservoir of the ocean. It becomes the dust of the deep sea. The water remains clear and the silence remains unbroken. The animal has left nothing behind but its energy. This reveals that our final and most beautiful act is to return what we have borrowed back to the source of all life. The upside-down jellyfish has a unique relationship with the sun. It lies on its back to expose the algae in its tissues to the light. This is how it gathers the energy it needs to survive. Your own body is resting now after a day of light. You are absorbing the quiet of the room. The jellyfish pulses its bell to push water over its underside. It is a slow and steady mechanical rhythm. It does not move across the seabed. It stays in the warm shallows where the water is clear. It is a gardener of its own life. The light becomes sugar within its skin. This reveals that we do not always need to travel to find our strength. We can find it by simply turning toward the source of our life. The sensory organs of a jellyfish are called our hoppolia. They are located along the edge of the bell. Each one contains a small stone of calcium sulfate that helps the animal perceive gravity. You can feel the weight of your own body as it sinks in the mattress. The stone rolls within its chamber to tell the jellyfish which way is down. It is a silent internal compass. The animal does not need to think to stay upright. It follows the honest pull of the earth. This connection to the center of the world is never broken. It is a quiet and steady guide in the trackless blue. This reveals that we are always held by a force that is much deeper than our own awareness. Jellyfish fossils have been found that show the animal has not changed for 500 million years. They have outlasted the dinosaurs in the rise of man. They are the silent witnesses of the Earth's history. Your own breath is part of this long and unbroken chain of life. You are connected to the very beginning of the world. The jellyfish does not try to evolve into something more complex. It remains in its perfect and simple form. It is a masterpiece of survival through minimal effort. The ocean has changed around it, but the pulse remains the same. The air is a constant in a world of shifting tides. In this sense, we see that the most enduring things are often the ones that are the most simple. The tentacles of the sea nettle can reach lengths of over 4 meters. These threads are covered in thousands of specialized cells that react to the slightest vibration. They are that of pure sensation. You are letting go of the need to feel or react to the world outside. You are drawing your senses inward toward the dark. The sea nettle drifts in the coastal waters with a majestic and heavy grace. Its tentacles move like smoke in the current. They do not get tangled or line. They follow the flow of the water without any resistance. The animal is a master of the long and quiet reach. This reveals that we can be present in many places at once when we allow our awareness to drift without tension. The moon jellyfish uses a layer of mucus on its bell to trap small particles of food. This food is then moved toward the mouth by tiny hairs called cilia. It is a constant and quiet gathering of energy. Your own mind is gathering the quiet of the night. You are filtering out the noise and the light of the day. The jellyfish does not hunt with aggression. It simply moves through the water and accepts what the tide brings. It is a life of total receptivity. The cilia move in a rhythmic way that never stops. The process is silent and invisible. The animal stays clear and transparent while it feeds. You could say that we are most at peace when we stop seeking and begin to simply receive. The deep-sea jellyfish known as the benthocoden has a dark red bell that hides the glow of its stomach. This prevents its own dinner from revealing its position to larger hunters. It is a secret kept in the darkness of the midnight zone. Your own inner world is a private and safe space now. The light of the world cannot reach you. The benthocoden lives on the sea floor thousands of meters down. It does not swim through the open water, but hovers just above the sill. It is a shadow within a shadow. Its life is one of absolute and cold discretion. It does not need to be seen to exist. This reveals that there is a profound power in maintaining a quiet and hidden center within ourselves. The life of a jellyfish begins as a tiny larva that settles on a rock and grows into a polyp. This polyp can stay attached to the stone for many years before it ever releases a medusa. It is a life of patient and stationary waiting. You are settling into the stillness of your own bed. The wandering of the day is over. The polyp does not feel the urge to move or to change. It is content to stay in the dark and the cold. It waits for the world to signal the right time for transformation. It is a master of the long pause. When the time comes, it will bloom like a flower of bliss. This reveals that our moments of stillness are the foundation for everything we will become. The comb jelly possesses a specialized organ called an apical sense pole. This structure is located at the top of its body and regulates the beating of its growing hairs. It is a tiny weight that controls a massive coordination of movement. Your own mind is the quiet center of your resting body. The comb jelly does not use a brain to decide its direction. It follows the tilt of the world. The sensory pole is a master of balance in the shifting currents. It keeps the animal upright in the dark. The rainbow colors of the combs are a silent byproduct of this steady work. This reveals that, when we find our center, the rest of our lives will move in a natural and beautiful harmony. A box jellyfish has a complex nervous system that includes a nerve ring. This ring connects the sensory organs and allows for rapid communication between the eyes and the muscles. It is a circle of instant understanding. You can feel the quiet connection between your breath and your heartbeat. They move together in the dark. The box jellyfish can actively swim toward a target rather than just drifting. It has a sense of purpose in the vast blue. Yet it still moves with a liquid grace that never breaks. The signals move through the ring without any noise or friction. It is a masterpiece of biological timing. This reveals that we are most effective when our thoughts and our actions are joined in a single, quiet loop. The bell of the jellyfish is composed of two distinct muscle groups. One group pulls the bell inward while the other allows it to expand. This is a life built on the balance of tension and release. Your own body is finding the final release of the day. The muscles of the jellyfish are thin, but they never tire. They have been pulsing since the dawn of time. The movement is as certain as the rising of the sun. The animal does not rush to finish its pulse. It savors the contraction and the expansion equally. It is a life lived in the present moment of the breath. In this sense, we see that the secret to endurance is found in the steady rhythm of our own inner life. The Portuguese man-o'-war uses a blue and violet sail to catch the wind. This sail is filled with atmospheric gases and can be deflated to submerge the animal during a storm. It is a life lived at the intersection of the sky and the sea. You are resting at the intersection of the day and the night. The man-o'-war does not fight the gale. It simply adjusts its buoyancy and waits for the water to become still. It is a master of survival through submission. The wind carries it across thousands of miles of open ocean. It is a traveler without a map. It trusts the air to take it where it needs to go. You could say that we find our true path when we stop trying to steer and start to trust the wind. The tentacles of some jellyfish contain thousands of tiny capsules called Psychoacoustic. These capsules are not used for contact, but for weaving a protective tube in the sand. The animal uses its own silk to build a home in the dark. You are weaving a cocoon of safety around yourself with the blankets of your bed. The Psychoacoustic release a sticky thread that hardens into a tough wall. This wall protects the delicate body of the jellyfish from the shifting tides. It is a self-made sanctuary. The animal remains inside the tube during the day and emerges at night. It is a master of creating its own peace. This reveals that we have the power to build a place of safety wherever we find ourselves in the world. Jellyfish have been found in the brackish waters of estuaries where the river meets the sea. They can adapt to the changing salt levels by adjusting the chemistry of their cells. They are the masters of the changing tides. You are adapting to the changing state of your own consciousness. You are moving from the salt of the day to the fresh water and sweet. The jellyfish does not panic when the water changes. It simply finds a new equilibrium. It remains transparent and calm in the face of the shift. The mixture of the two waters creates a world of gray and green. The animal pulses through the mist with a steady heart. This reveals that we can remain ourselves even when the world around us is in a state of constant flux. The final resting place of a jellyfish is the silent floor of the deep ocean. Here the temperature is constant and the light is a distant memory. The animal dissolves into the silt and becomes part of the Earth's crust. Your own journey for today is coming to its final rest. The silence is deep and absolute. The jellyfish has completed its dance with the light and the current. It is now part of the ancient stone of the seabed. The water above continues to move, but the bottom remains still. There is no more pulse and no more steam. There is only the long and beautiful silence of the abyss. This reveals that every story eventually finds its way back to the quiet peace of the beginning. And so we drift to the end of our quiet journey through the hidden, velvet depths of the midnight sea. We have witnessed the bioluminescent jellyfish, those soft electric lanterns that pulse with a cold, ghostly fire amidst the crushing dark. They are the living stars of the abyss, moving with a rhythm that predates time itself. In their gentle, mindless expansion and contraction, we find a profound reassurance that even in the deepest shadows, there is a natural, effortless light. If these fragile travelers can glow so brightly against the weight of the ocean, surely we can find stillness in the weight of the night. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, the voyage is complete. There's nothing left for you to do, nowhere else you need to be. Just breathe. Let your breath mimic the slow, steady pulse of the bells in the deep. Let your eyes grow heavy, sinking away from the waking world. Let the bioluminescent jellyfish cradle your thoughts and dreams in their soft, shimmering glow as you drift into the dark. Good night.